And good evening to you. Welcome in to Tennessee Tuesday. It's Tuesday evening, May the 26th. I'm John Blankenship, your host of the program tonight, along with my co-host, Jason Boshers. And we have a special guest tonight, Mr. Rick Revel, will be joining us this evening. Gentlemen, let's start out with Jason. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing very well, John. How about you?
Doing good. It's been a rainy week in Tennessee. That's going to continue, but we're getting through this week. Going to start to see the sun shine again. Some pretty weather on the way. Love summertime. Ready to get into that. It also means it's a busy season of activities going on around, of course, the Tennessee division with SCV events. We're going to talk about some of those tonight, and one that has taken place just recently in Paris in the Battle of Paris commemoration event, where Rick Revel is the commander of the SMG Harris Camp 109, and we'll be talking to Rick tonight. And Rick, welcome in.
Good to be here. I've been watching you guys, and y'all have too much fun.
It's always a lot of fun. We're glad to have you here tonight. It's going to be a great show. And we need to start out with our disclaimer this evening. Again, the views and opinions that you hear on the broadcast tonight are solely our own, not of the SCV, the GEC, the brigades, divisions, subsidiaries of the organization. They're solely our own tonight. And you got three guys here, and I know we've all got opinions, so it'll be a good show tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're glad you're with us. And let's go ahead and jump into a few of those comments early that folks have joined us. We've got a lot of regulars already on tonight. Roy Hudson joining us and his wife, Linda, down in Florida. Hope all is well with them. I know they've been busy and traveling across the South. Also, Chuck Roydhouse joining us there from the General Hatton Camp in Lebanon. Hope Chuck is well this evening. Some of our other regulars already on early with us tonight. Daniel joining us. Hope he's doing well tonight. My friend just down the road, Steve Reed, is joining us. Looking forward to another good program, and we hope to bring that to you this evening. Also up in Union City there, Camp Commander 176, Randy Cockram, joining us this evening tonight. And gentlemen, there's a whole bunch of folks on already. It's going to be a good show. And hello to my friend Kyle Thompson, the Kentucky Division commander there. He's getting busy and prepping for the Kentucky Division reunion this Saturday in Russellville, and then they've got a big something happening in July we'll be talking about this evening. So good to have Kyle on with us. And Rick, I know you know Kyle well. He's just right across the border from you.
Yeah, we have a chance to work together quite a bit.
So Kyle's on with us tonight. David Pope up in East Tennessee joining us this evening from Camp 87. Good to see him tonight. Let's see, several others, and we'll get through many of these throughout the program, but let's say a shout out to a couple of more. Toby Oakley joining us this evening, and also one more, Mr. Floyd Harvey, joining us from the Keller Camp in Hot Springs, Arkansas. So hello to all those folks. I hope you're having a good evening, and we'll have more of those comments as you join us throughout the show tonight for the next hour. It's going to be a good show, and let's go ahead and jump into a couple of other things. First, Jason, we want to say a shout out to our sponsors tonight. We could not do this without them. We thank all those that have partnered with us here on Tennessee Tuesday and SCV Chat. And as you see those scrolling across the screen tonight, as we get into our first commercial break, we'll tell you more about how you can become one of those and also how you can become a show sponsor. We'll be telling you about here about 20 after or so. So stay tuned for that, and we'll share that with you this evening. Again, thank you for being with us tonight. Our special guest is Mr. Rick Revel, who is not too far up the road from me here in West Tennessee, and the SMG Harris Camp 109 in Paris, a very active camp. Rick, welcome in, and let's talk a little bit about tonight, Camp 109, and what you guys have been up to. I know y'all are just coming off a big event with the Battle of Paris commemoration.
Oh, the Battle of Paris turned out excellent. This was our fourth year. And we started out the first 2 years at the courthouse, and they wouldn't let us fire our cannons or our muskets or do anything there because of the city ordinance. And we kept looking for some property and found some out by McNeil Park that was just right outside of the city limits. So last year we put on a nice little event, and all the kids that were playing soccer and practicing on the soccer field and softball diamonds and stuff, they could see the cannons, hear the cannons, and so they flocked over there last year. Well, we lost the lease about 2 months before we put this event on. We actually lost it. We was told we were supposed to have it all through this year, and they weren't supposed to start building on this property till 2027.
Yeah.
Well, 2 months ago, they broke ground. They started throwing that sucker up, and it's like, oh, now what do we do? And so found some property. The chairman, Richard Bomer, he found some property at the back of McNeil Park, which is not used a lot. And they allowed us to go there, and it, lo and behold, is outside of the city limits. So we were able to fire artillery, do all those fun things. And it turned out to be a much better location in terms of how it felt. We were off the beaten path. So all the reenactors pitched their tents, and they felt like it was just perfect for them as reenactors. They felt like they had gone back in time. And then the spectators, we had a little bit of signage problem to find us. But once the spectators found us, they loved it. They loved how everything was set up. And from what I gather, hopefully next year for our 5th year, we'll be able to be at the same location. And we have on Fridays, we bring the school kids out. So we demonstrate to them, we talk to them about American heritage and history. Of course, it's heavy Southern heritage that we talk about. But all American history is just that. It's everybody's history, and we want to highlight the Southern heritage part of it. And they get a chance to, some of them even get a chance. I think one of them was that picture there. We had a young lady pulling the lanyard. And so a lot of times some of the spectators come out, they get to pull the lanyard, and that's a big excitement for them to fire artillery. So it's a living history type of event. It's not a full-fledged reenactment yet. We're kind of walking our way toward it. This is, for me, this is a 10+ year project, and the camp has been back in operation since, 2021. So back actually 2020 is when I tried to get it started again, but it took us a little over a year to get our charter reinstated. And so it laid dormant for about 7 years, and we got it started again. But way before all that, when I was working with a camp up in Hermitage, Tennessee, when I was working with them, I had a person approach me saying, why can't we do a Battle of Paris deal? And he was actually a reenactor with the 5th Iowa Cavalry.
Okay.
And so we started kicking that idea around. He is yet to show up to the event, but I started kicking it around several years ago, trying to find a place to do it. And then once we got the camp going, I said, hey, this is a project I want us to take on. And they said, yeah, let's do it. So this was our 4th year to pull this off.
It's going to be it. We started out there on the Court Square, Rick. Fantastic time to see folks come out. And, in the era which we live, that's kind of uncommon to see things like that happen. To be able to even get permission to do that, man, what a great accomplishment.
And it's a little bit of dancing on the head of a pin sometimes, because you have people that frown at you. Even some in the courthouse that said they didn't want the statue there, because this all started when they wanted to take the statue down.
Yeah.
At the Sentinel, as we call it. But fortunately, we've always lucked out to have enough council members, to have the county mayor, city mayor. We've always lucked out. And so far, they've all said, hey, this rascal's protected. It'll always be here. All it takes is that one to buck up against us. But so far, we've been very fortunate that we work with them, and we keep reminding them of all the ordinances and laws that we've looked up that should keep it there, especially because of the fact that statue has been there so long. And it is registered. It's historically registered along with the courthouse. That whole property there is on the historical register. So that within itself has pulled the statue into where it's protected. But still people want to buck up against it.
Yeah, beautiful Court Square, Rick. And recently the Court Square has gone through some changes as all the old trees came down. So it has a different feel. And that statue there, the Sentinel, really stands out now.
It does. It stands out. It was sad to see the trees go, because I'm a timber guy, and big trees, I hate to see them go when they've got so many years on them, which will be later in the conversation. We'll talk about trees. But they did it for insurance purposes. And they were afraid the statue could be damaged by the tree that was next to it, and it had started getting it was hollow, and it was afraid it would start dropping limbs on it. So they were thinking about the statue also, as well as the courthouse and other. And of course, across from our statue is the World War II, World War I monument, and so it's to help protect them too. So they were thinking about that also when they took the trees down.
Yeah, it's hard to see those trees go. Gibson County went through the same thing a few years ago when Trenton had to take our old trees down, but sometimes they get to the end of their life, and that just has to happen. But the statue saved looks great as always. It's seen some wear and tear over the years. He's not as pretty as he once was when he was brand new.
No, and see it started out with just the pedestal. The pedestal was part of the monument, like in the late 1800s was the pedestal part, and then they added the sentinel to it later. And he the acid from the bird droppings, as we call them, the pigeon droppings, has not done well on his face. They'll perch right there on his hat, and he no longer has a nose, and that's from all the bird droppings. So acid in that is quite destructive to the stonework that it's made from. But we're trying our best to preserve it. We try to keep it as clean as possible. We've got the little wrought iron fence around it now to keep people from being able to have quick access to it. They can still climb the fence, but it slows them down a little bit.
Absolutely. Well, Rick Revel's our guest tonight on Tennessee Tuesday. And Rick, as we get into our first break coming up in just a moment, and we talk about some of the other things you're involved in, you're a busy man. Let's talk a little bit more about your role and kind of history that folks that may not know you. Who is Rick Revel? How did you get interested in history and kind of into the SCB? What's your background there?
It's kind of cool. When I was up in Virginia, up at Pound Gap, which is on the Kentucky-Virginia border, and had a chance to see a lot of people that had friended me on Facebook. And it was their first chance to see me face to face and actually say, "Oh, you do really exist." But it's kind of interesting. I've been involved in heritage preservation since 1976. This is my 50th year. And a lot of people say, well, no, you haven't been at SCV that long. Well, as far as that goes, no, I haven't. I've just been since the early 2000s. As far as heritage preservation, I went on the bicentennial wagon train in 1976.
Oh, wow.
And I wound up in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. And that's really what started all this, guys, was when I rode on the wagon train. I started up in Memphis, Tennessee. And we were doing what was called the Spirit of 76 Wild West show. I was playing Wild Bill Hickok, the young version at that time. And we did our first show there at Lakeland. If you remember old Lakeland Park.
Yeah.
We did our first show there, and all the people of the wagon train came out. They listened to the show, and they invited us then to be a part of it. And so it was like, wow, I wanted to check it out. So I rode with them 2 or 3 days, and they made me very welcome. I got a chance to play around the campfire at night, and Loretta's Lynn's husband, Moody Lynn, was on the wagon train. He was a Tennessee wagon master. He wanted me to come on and be a part of it, so I did. I went back home, packed up, got everything I needed, and Bouladou, who was the Louisiana state wagon driver, said I could stay in his wagon.
Oh, wow.
So I actually slept in his wagon, carried my guitar in his wagon. I took care of his mules, did that for about a month, and then we changed cook buses, and I became the chief cook and bottle washer, and potato peeler and onion peeler. That's mainly what I did a lot of, is peeling onions and potatoes for the cook bus. But that kept me a little money in my pocket and kept me fed and earned my keep on the way all the way to Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. And
So
Gerald
long-
Ford was our speaker.
So a long history there, Rick, getting back, and you were just a child. You were only 3 or 4 years old.
I was 3 or 4 years old. Yeah, I was a young buck. I just started shaving. I had one little right there on my chin. But
There
yeah,
you go.
and actually I wasn't shaving much then. I had a cookie duster.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Well,
I was in my
let's
late
talk a
teens
little
and
bit about,
just had a cookie duster.
What got you interested in history? What sparked that interest? Is it a family thing, or who got you interested in it?
Partially, yes, but believe it or not, I've always been involved in church, and I was raised up at Henry Baptist Church, and so we had an organization called RAs, Royal Ambassadors. I was a member of that, and Joe Qualls, which was heading up our group, said, "We're going on a field trip. We're going to go to Shiloh." And I said, "Oh, great. What's Shiloh?" But Mom and Dad told me a little bit about Shiloh, and they said, we actually had people that fought there, ancestors that fought there. So that's my first introduction that, I may have had somebody involved in the Civil War, the War between states. get there, and we're there at Revel's Battery. The park ranger happens to be there with us at that time. And the park ranger begins to tell us the story. And he talks about Gibson. And, Gibson was to lead the charges across there. I didn't know who Randall Gibson was. I didn't know him. I didn't know who Bragg was. But they're talking about all these things that happened there. And we all lined up in this group, and we began to walk across the field. And he systematically had us in a single line, and we would walk a few paces. He'd say stop. And he would point at one of us in the line and say, you stop there. And we literally kept walking until all of us had stopped. And what he was doing was making the point that how deadly this walk was. And I'm 9 years old. And it grabbed me that Mom, Dad said I had an ancestor that fought here. And people died here. People where I'm walking, people died here. They bled out on the ground where I'm walking, and I'm going, wow, I'm 9 years old, and it's just, I couldn't fathom it. So we go back and go to the gift shop, and I buy me a little wrought iron cannon, and I bring it home, and I still got that cannon this very day, and brought it home, got to think I got a little keepy cap and all that, and began to try to know more about my ancestors, and kind of hit the brick wall early on. And that bicentennial wagon train, that's what did it. Once I got on there, it's like the light switch was flipped on. We wind up at Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, and I don't want to get long on you, so flag me just in case, but just to make it quick on this part, I get to Valley Forge and I meet Mike Tully. Mike Tully has an advertising agency right there. He lives right next to Valley Forge. His property literally joins up against it. And he had an artillery piece in his garage, a Parrott rifle in his garage. And he said, oh, yeah, my brother-in-law made this for me. Said, you want to shoot it? And I said, well, yeah. Yeah. So we shot that rascal in his backyard, shooting it back towards Valley Forge and listening to it echo through the woods and over the hills there at Valley Forge. And he said, well, you've been here. Did you get a chance to see anything at the park? And to be honest with you, when we got there on the wagon train at 76, they literally, after we rode through and Gerald Ford was talking to us, when we finished that, they paraded us out and they literally basically chased us off the park. We were done. We had gotten the wagons there and they were done with us. So by the next day, we all had to leave. And so I didn't get a chance to see the park. So when I went back to work with Mike, he said, let's go over to the park. And every time I'd go up there, I was flying up there every 2 or 3 weeks out of Nashville to Philadelphia and working there in Valley Forge. And I got to meet all these cool people. And he took me to meet this park ranger. And I wanted to know more about Potts House, where George Washington had stayed. And I'd always heard the story about Washington praying by a stump or saying a prayer. And I wanted to know where it was. And so the park ranger took me to that location. And when he took me to that location, call it what you may, but we in the Baptist world, we call it that still small voice. But I literally felt that I heard that voice tell my story. And I'm at the location. The park ranger took me to the location where Washington had prayed. And I didn't know what story I was supposed to tell. Yeah. I'm about 19 years old, and I'm going, and at that time, I'm concerned about my music career. I was writing for the Riddlands Publishing Company in Nashville, and that's what I'm thinking of. So tell my story. Well, who would have guessed it that 20 plus years later, I have children, they're going to school. Yeah. I'm looking at their history lessons, and they were terrible. I see what they're teaching them about George Washington. That he had wooden teeth, that he wore a wig all the time, and he chopped down a cherry tree. Well, one's half truth, and the other them are total lies. But they're teaching our kids those things. So back in the 90s, I began developing historical characters and began to perform as George Washington and honoring Tell My Story. Yeah. So that's where the George Washington comes from, that I did up at Pounds Gap, and I do David Crockett, and started doing a lot of historical characters, writing music around each one. And I wanted to take teaching history a whole different route. I call it edutainment. And that's what I want to do is
Mhm.
entertain and educate at the same time.
Very good information. We learned a lot already tonight, Rick. Very active. I know you got a lot of stuff going, and we want to talk more about that that music career. Also, some of your portrayals. Of course, you mentioned George Washington. We know you do Colonel Crockett as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And Jason, I'm gonna let you jump in here as we get ready to take our first break. I don't want you to be quiet tonight and go to sleep on us here. I'm gonna let you jump in if you've got anything you want to know from Rick before we take our first break.
Well, I've heard Rick perform numerous times, and I've seen the work that he's done. Even his latest show, The History Highway, which is a great program. But I have never heard that phrase, edutainment, where it's part education, part entertainment. I like that, edutainment. Well done. And that does get their attention, and you're very good at that. You've performed at the Forest Boyhood Home numerous times. I've seen you at the Sam Davis Home as well, and you've done a fantastic job. And thank you for promoting and keeping the history alive. And that's what you're doing with these first-person impersonations. And I thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate it. And if coming from you, bro, that means a lot because I've seen your dedication. But I'm going to say this, and then we can bounce into commercials, whatever you want to do. But the Bible talks about we're all a part of a body, the body of Christ. And so I don't want to take away from the scripture, but if you think about our organization, the SCV, we all have a part.
Yes.
Jason, when your oratory, I mean, when you speak, Bubba, you speak. John, you do the same thing, and you're a historian. So when you guys speak, we're all part of that body, and we all should be doing our best to be a finger, a toe, or a leg, and we're all a part of that body, and we all have a place. And if we get out of place, then we're totally out of place. So we need to find what we're good at, our passion, and do it the best we can. And so the guys that get on the artillery, and that's what they love to do, I encourage them to keep doing it. Keep firing your artillery because that pulls people in. So we all have a piece that we can contribute. And mine just happens to be the edutainment part of it. And been doing it a day or two.
A few days, yes. Yes. Very
tonight,
good.
Big Revel is our guest on the program. Well, guys, we'll go ahead and take our first break here. Let's talk about our sponsors again tonight. You saw us scroll across the screen a little earlier. These are our Patreon members, Jason. So you can join as a Patreon member. And I want you to tell us a little bit about the different levels that our viewership tonight can join us if they want to support what we do.
Yes, sir. And thank you, John. Thank you, Rick, for joining us. I just want to let everybody know that these shows are possible because of our sponsors. And I want to thank the Patreon members, and there's different levels. You can go to scvchat.com and go through the Patreon portal that way, or you can go to Patreon and find SCV Chat. You can donate at the $2.50 level each month. They call that the Feed a Moose level. That was just one of those things that got nicknamed, and we all know Harrison, always been a broke college boy, but guess what? He's graduated now. So now he gets to be a broke adult like the rest of us. So you've got that level. You've got the $10 level, and that is the real chat head level. That's when you start finding out everything that's going on behind the scenes. You'll get emails and updates on everything that's going on. The $30 level is the merchandise level. And every so often, you will get something in the mail from them. In fact, I've got something on the way now, and it's not, they say every 3 months, but it's a little bit longer than that. It varies. Pretty cool gift that just not available. They just do something and send it to you. And then you have the $80 a month show sponsor. And we have so many of them. Dr. Chris Cummins, Modern Medicine with Southern Hospitality out of Oxford, Mississippi. I know that you have, he's been your doctor before, John. Would you like to speak about him?
Yeah, and I met Dr. Cummings, as we've told you several years ago. Great guy, longtime supporter and member of the SCV. Does a great work there, medicine-wise. If you got knee pain and Rick, I know we get older, we start to deal with those things. Dr. Cummings can take care of you. He's in Oxford, Mississippi, modern medicine, Southern hospitality. Also tonight, 31st Regiment Engraving. Jason, tell us about them.
Yes, sir. It is Southern themed items and Southern and custom laser engraved gifts. And Todd, SCV, he's actually the California Division Commander. He has done a fantastic job. Now, if you watch the regular SCV chat show, look around the Confederation, you will see Harrison Moose wearing his bracelet, and that can actually be tailored to your ancestor. You can have anything put on there you want. Todd does all of the laser engraving, and he does some very custom pieces. And thanks, Todd, for everything he's done. I've seen quite a bit of his work, and tell you what, we're coming up on National Reunion. If there was something that you were wanting, I would get in touch with Todd, see if he can get that done for you, and see if he can bring it to Lexington here in about 7 weeks. So we're getting close to National Reunion. So reach out to Todd at 31stregengraving.com.
I'd also, of course, past Commander-in-Chief Larry McClooney, who was on the show with us last week, talking about his new book, Paradox of Freedom, A History of Black Slaveholders in America. A great program last week, gentlemen. Just learned so much and always do. And Larry's on with us, and we appreciate him sponsoring. Again, booksbylarry.com is where you can go get the Paradox of Freedom. Also, his other books that he has authored are available there, and he's working on a new book we learned about that will be coming up hopefully later on this year. So again, visit booksbylarry.com, and you can pick up that brand new book. I have a copy here with me, and I've been really enjoying going through that and learning so much, and just Larry full of knowledge. Again, booksbylarry.com. Also tonight, Jason, our next sponsor is Beauregard's Tailor. Tell us a little bit more about them.
Well, they're a family-owned business, and they specialize in the war between the state reproduction, T-shirts, flags, lapel pins. They have been doing uniforms for a number of years, and they've started to slide away from that. But I would still reach out to them at Beauregard'sTailor.shop. Reach out to them and see if they still have any of the clothing, because they had fantastic clothing. It was period correct. And so reach out to them. If not, you've already got your uniform and you haven't wore it out like the rest of us have. You can just look and find the reproduction flags, T-shirts, everything else that they have, Beauregard's Tailor. And you can get to them at Beauregard'sTailor.shop. And also, all of us wear our stuff out.
Absolutely. It definitely happens. Museum at Market Hall, the home of the Confederate Museum in Charleston, South Carolina. They have been there since 1899, Jason. We have all been there to the Museum at Market Hall, a wonderful museum telling Southern history. If the flag is out, they are open. Their hours are Thursday through Sunday from 11 until 4. Again, if you've been to Charleston, South Carolina, you've been to this museum, you know what I'm talking about. But if you haven't, make you a trip down there, and you will thoroughly enjoy this museum in downtown Charleston. There's a little bit more about all the work they do. And again, you can come in and take the tour, pick up things in their gift shop as well. The Museum at Market Hall, one of our sponsors tonight here on Tennessee Tuesday. And finally tonight, Jason, tell us about the Sam Davis Home and Museum.
Sam Davis Home, what an incredible place. And Rick's performed there before, and yes. It is a very humbling place, especially when you're there around the latter part of November, and with the execution and him coming home in December, and then you're doing it at his gravesite. It is a home that Sam was about 4 or 5 when he moved into this home and come to an adulthood in this home. And to know the story, when you get there, you can, when you're driving in, there's the rock and the tree where he tied his horse to the last time he visited. And this was before he was on his fateful ride at that time, but he had not picked up the paperwork that ended up being the death sentence for him. But he was on his ride at that time. And the home is there. It's open for tours. You can go inside the home. You can go into the room where Sam's bedroom. You can go knock on the window or tap on the window at his parents' bedroom, because as we all know, that night that he visited, he walked up and tapped on his parents' bedroom. Then you can go into the girls' room where his mother was when the coffin come home on the back of the wagon. She was in the girls' room, walked over, heard the wagon. We've all watched those old Westerns, and we know the sound the wagons make. Heard that, looked out the window, saw Sam's coffin, and collapsed. But you can go there, you can tour the grounds, you can go to where Sam is buried and visit his obelisk there and visit Sam. And you can join the samdavishome.org, and you can support the Sam Davis Home. And go visit, join, and become a friend. And you've got different levels you can join.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. There's our sponsors tonight on Tennessee Tuesday and SCB Chat as we continue on this Tuesday, May the 26th. Rick Revel is our guest. We'll take this break. We'll come back. We'll be talking more about his TV show as well as his singing and songwriting career. Rick Revel will be back with us here on Tennessee Tuesday right after this.
Was your great-grandfather a traitor or a patriot? Today's politically correct are trying hard to take away the heritage of the brave Confederate soldiers who fought and died for their land. But one thing is certain, they can't change history. Those Confederate soldiers were fighting for the same reason soldiers fight today. They were fighting against homeland invasion. We believe that the desecration of the bravery, patriotism, and honor of those men should not be allowed. They were outmanned and outsupplied, but they were never outfought. They were proud men who believed in fighting to protect their dignity, their homes, and their families. If you're the male descendant of a Confederate soldier, we'd welcome you to join with us in the preservation of that heritage. We're the Sons of Confederate Veterans. Check us out on the internet at scv.org or call us at 800-MY-SOUTH. That's 800-697-6884. Sons of Confederate Veterans, dedicated to preserving the reputation of men like Robert E. Lee, Stonewall Jackson, and your great-grandfather.
And thanks for joining us. We're back on Tennessee Tuesday this evening. Glad to have you watching with us tonight. Thank you for all those that are checking in our chat and comments tonight. And Jason, we have a great guest on us with us tonight, Mr. Rick Revel, who is joining us. He is the camp commander of the SMG Harris Camp 109. And outside of that, Rick doesn't do anything. No, he is a super busy individual and has been for a long time. You've probably heard his music. You've probably seen him as Colonel David Crockett, and maybe George Washington along the way, as we've learned a little bit about that side tonight. But Rick, let's talk a little bit about who you are outside of doing history and your music career and songwriting. And I was reading yesterday, is it somewhere over 1,500 songs or more that you've written? Is that close?
That's pretty close. Yeah, it's hard to believe. I started playing professionally when I was 12, playing for square dances and things like that, senior citizen homes and places of that nature. And so the bug bit early, and I began singing out in front of the public at age 13, and the bug bit to start writing. And I thought, well, I love these songs, and I loved old Johnny Horton songs like the Battle of New Orleans and Johnny Reb and songs like that. And I said, well, maybe I could write one like that. So some of my first songs I wrote a song called General Lee. I wrote one called The Almost Famous Ride of Paul Revere, which is kind of like a Ray Stevens tongue-in-cheek song. And I wrote Johnny, I Killed a Blue Soldier. And I'm doing all this when I'm age 15. And so I start taking these songs to Nashville, and I run across Roy Acuff at the backstage at the Opry, which was at the Ryman at the time. And my parents were trying to get me going, and my dad knew the guy that played dobro for Roy Acuff, cousin Oswald and brother Oswald, and so we got in to see Roy. And one of the things he said when I came to Nashville, he said they were looking for talent, so I was lucky. He said they got me in here, and he said, but today we're flooded with individuals, and there's tons of talent. Said, you're going to have to find what makes you different. Well, I was lucky at that time. What did make me different? I was one of the youngest songwriters in Nashville at the time. And so that worked for a year or two until, age catches up with you and you're no longer the youngest. And so but that got me in the door. That got my foot in the door, and so I got to meet some of the right people. And then after I met Mooney on the bicentennial wagon train, he introduced me to Loretta, and I got to working for her publishing company and King Cole Publishing. And it began to blossom. The songwriting aspect began to blossom. She cut some of my songs, and so I just dug deeper into the songwriting, still wanting to be an artist myself, but it was just something about being able to write songs that it changed people. I could see how it influenced people, and how it would change their thinking sometimes. And I watched on the negative side, I watched some of the songs of the 60s that a lot of us grew up with, kind of from that considered the hippie era, where it was, trying to get you to do the acid and do some of the drug stuff. And I thought, well, can I go on the opposite end of things? And can I teach people more of a positive approach? So that was the route I took. I tried being raised in a Baptist church. I was trying to do everything as positive as possible. Not perfect by no means. I've had plenty of mistakes I've made, but try my best to do the right thing. And so I kept seeing people enjoy the songs I consider ballads about American history. And so of those 1,500, I'd say close to a third of those songs are going to be history-oriented songs. So.
Rick, let me ask you this. What does it look like for you when you sit down, if you're going to write a song? How does the inspiration come about? What does that look like for you?
Oh, Lord. And it's crazy. It's like, children. And you have a house full of children. Let's say you have 5 children. Well, you could ask the same question. Each child is just different.
Yeah.
Each child is different. You couldn't imagine that they have the same mom and daddy, or you hope they do. They have the same mom and daddy, but they're different. Well, songs are the same way. It's just amazing how they develop. Sometimes it's just a line, like the edutainment thing. When I walked into Merle Kilgore's office, that used to be Hank Jr.'s manager, and I walked into Merle Kilgore's thing, and he liked the thing I was doing. He really encouraged doing the Crockett and the Washington thing.
Yeah.
And he's the one that called me Mr. History. He's the guy that tagged me with that.
Wow.
He said, "Oh, man, you're just a regular old," he said, "Hoss, you're just a regular old Mr. History, aren't you?" And that's when I was doing Crockett and stuff. And so he liked that. But I coined the phrase in front of him, edutainment. And he said, "You're on to something." He said, "You hang on to that." He had never heard that phrase. Now, I've seen it pop up a whole lot of times on the internet now.
Yeah.
Once you let that cat out of the bag, everybody else will use it, and it's their idea. But as far as I know, I'm one of the first, because I used it in some of my print work in the early 1990s, talking about edutainment. So somebody's going to have to go back further than 1992. But if somebody did, then okay, you got the credit. But I've been doing this for a long time.
Let's pick a couple of songs. What are some that you've done that kind of stand out, whether it's going way back, something you say is your favorite that you enjoyed writing?
I think General Lee, because I still use it today, and it just because of the impact. But, writing it at age 15, I'm in the studio at age 19, cutting it. I'm cutting it in Music Mill Studio, where Alabama cut a lot of their stuff. And it's like, wow. So that had some impact on me. But recently, I've been working down in Muscle Shoals, and it's kind of cool to work with people that, work with Leonard Skinner, and where Sweet Home Alabama came from there, and all those great songs. So I'm getting to work with some of the people that was in that era, come from that age. And so I started writing songs that are history related, but it's based around the music part. And so I wrote one song about W.C. Handy. He's a black gentleman that grew up in Florence, Alabama, Muscle Shoals. They consider him the father of the blues.
Sure.
But I wanted to take it a little deeper and tell the rest of the story about him. So I wrote a song about him, and I put it on one of my History Highway shows, and episode 8, and it wound up catching hold. People really liked it and wanted to know more about this. So we went in the studio, cut it, and it wound up being put into the Mississippi Music Awards, and it was entered into that, and it wound up in 2023. It ended up winning the Best Mississippi Blues Award. And that blew my mind. That was the first award like that I'd ever won. And I thought, people are hungry for this. They're hungry.
Yeah.
So then I wrote a song about Muscle Shoals, that Muscle Shoals sound. Talked about Leonard Skinner. This last song that is still out right now, Singing River. What I love about Singing River, Lord help. Muscle Shoals is that interesting area. Everybody asks, I've seen it asked in the documentary that they did about Muscle Shoals. And each one was asked the question, what is it that makes Muscle Shoals different? And their music does sound different. It just has a different feel, whether it's R&B, blues, or Southern rock. It's just different. Even the country music and gospel music that's cut there. Phil Driscoll cuts there. Phil Driscoll cuts at the same studio where I cut. This uses the same producer I use. So these people keep asking the question, what is it? And they say it's in the water. It's in the water. And I got to looking at it from a history guy standpoint. Well, what body of water flows through there and makes it the Muscle Shoals? It's the Tennessee River. And the Cherokee, they originally called it the Tennessee, which in English translates to Tennessee, but the literal meaning of the Tennessee is the Singing River. So that's what makes Muscle Shoals different. They're right on the Singing River. But guess what? The Singing River passes through Henry County too, where I live.
Yeah, it does.
So anyway,
very good.
So I get the chance to talk about the Cherokee a little bit. And once again, I talk about Skinner's plane crash, and I talk about Rick Hall and the guys that made Muscle Shoals famous. So once again, getting to talk about history, but it's a pretty incredible song. That's one you need to look up on YouTube. It's on Vivo YouTube, Singing River, and it's my latest single. And that one's dear to my heart because it's telling some of the story about Muscle Shoals, Alabama. And I've grown to love it down there. It's just really a cool place to go.
Well, Rick, tell me, I know a lot of times we don't like to talk about ourselves, what we've accomplished. Tell me about some of your awards. I know you've won several awards over the years. Are there some that stand out that really mean a lot to you? Well,
definitely that one I just mentioned because of it being the first, what I call my comeback trail. See, what some people might not know is back up in the 2010, 12, in that era, my mom and dad began to get sick, and in 2010 actually, and so I had to take care of them, and I had to basically give up my career. I had to come off the road. I had a tent that I pitched at all the reenactments, so I was a sutler. I was doing the battle announcing at all the different battles like Chickamauga, and I was going all over the country. I was going as far east as Aiken, South Carolina. I was doing the battle over there, so I was traveling all over the country doing that. And trying to, once again, preserve Southern heritage, because that'd always be a part of my talk when we were doing the MC work. So mom and dad get sick, and so somebody's got to take care of them. And they had asked me to do so, and so I did. And so I wound up pulling myself off the road, and for 5 years, that's all I did. I was a full-time caretaker for 5 years. One time, my dad was in Jackson, Tennessee in the hospital, and my mom was in Paris, Tennessee in the hospital. Wow. And I'm having to run back and forth to take care of both of them. So all that said, that was 5 years of my life that I felt was a worthy investment into my family and taking care of my mom and dad. They took care of me. They raised me. So it was my obligation, I felt, to take care of them. So after that, I have to rebuild my career because, buddy, I'm talking, take 5 years off and see what that does to your career. Everybody forgets you quick, and they forgot me quick. And so I wrote a book while I was sitting in the hospital with mom and dad. I had my laptop with me, so I began writing a book called In the Hills of Tennessee. And so I put it out, and 2019, it finally came out. In the latter part of 2019, and we're getting all of our book tour put together early 2020, and guess what? Here comes COVID like a freight train, and it shut me down. And so coming out of my 5 years, and I'm trying to do my comeback, COVID hits and shuts me down again. So it's been a tough little fight trying to work my way back to get reestablished as a writer. And I was getting History Highway going at that exact same time, exactly the same time my book came out. We were working on a pilot for History Highway, and boom, the announcement comes out that we're going to be shut down for 2 weeks, then another 4 weeks, then 6 weeks, then all of a sudden we're going into our second year, and it's like, you guys are killing me. So I went ahead and bought my own camera equipment. The guy that I shot the pilot with was not able to continue with me. So I just bought my own camera equipment, go out and set it up myself. And Jason, you can testify to this because I've interviewed you, and I just set the cameras up and away I go. I did it with the Kennedy twins. I've done it with everybody. Mm-hmm. And I came over to do it with John one day, and we got my microphone's messed up. Yeah, my microphone's totally quit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my receiver for my microphone's totally died. I had to buy another set after that to replace it. But I started producing it on my own, shooting it, and I felt that was only the best way to do it. So that way you don't have to work around other people's schedules like camera people. And so we started shooting and traveling all over the country. And, the Kennedy twins have been good to show up at different locations. We've done 2 or 3 things around Natchez, Mississippi, that just blew my mind. I spent some time there, and I have a TV channel called American Music and Entertainment Television. And it grew out of something I did with Jimmy Allgood. He had Mid-South Broadcasting, and he liked History Highway. He wanted to air it on his channel. And I said, okay, here's the deal. You can air it on my channel, on your channel, but I want my own channel. And he said, okay. And so I started AME TV. He helped me get on the air for AME TV. Long as I kept providing him History Highway, and I started something called Music Mavens, which was a music video show. And so I started providing him content, and that got me on the air with AME TV. So that's how I got that started. And then he and I kind of separated, and I started, went and got my own network on Roku and Amazon Fire. So AME TV is on Roku and Amazon Fire, and I have tons of historical programming on it, and I try to take an alternate route. History Channel, if you pay any attention, is no longer a History Channel. It's Reality TV Channel and Ancient Aliens Channel and Ice Road Truckers or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that got to do with history? I used to love waking up in the morning and eating breakfast and popping on the History Channel and watching Gettysburg. Watch whatever they were talking about. And that's when they had stuff about the war between the states. It was usually early morning during breakfast. And it totally changed. And I thought, well, maybe I can fill that gap. So that's what I try to do, is fill the void as much as possible. We recently found where the History Channel, after they put the thing out about Camp Douglas, they had so much flack over doing that program, it got pulled. And so it's just kind of floating around out there, and they're not really wanting to claim it because, it's not politically correct. I mean, whoever produced it, it's got Thomas Cartwright on it, and they're telling the truth about Camp Douglas, and they pulled it. So I'm as long as I can, I've got it on the air on AME TV. So if you want to watch it on AME TV, you can watch about Camp Douglas and see what really happened there. So we try to keep good content on there to help educate the public. And that's one of my missions with AME TV and History Highway. But back to Natchez. Here's 2 things that I found out while I was there. The first Bigfoot sighting was in Natchez, Mississippi, believe it or not. And it was by a priest.
Oh.
A Jesuit priest. And he had come up there to save the souls of the Natchez Indians. And while he was there in the camp, they all got disturbed when this big hairy creature showed up. And he writes about it. They don't call it Bigfoot, but they call it the big hairy creature. And it shows up, and it was known to terrorize the camp and known to steal their dogs or anything small enough it could capture and eat. So, so that was the first, and this is like 1720. And then the other thing was, of course, the other curious thing about the Natchez Indians, they had conquered their next door neighbors and enslaved them. So it always tickles me when people say, well, the white man brought slavery to America, and the Natchez Indians, they said, we've been doing it for years. But anyhow, the other story is about the Devil's Punch Bowl. And what a story. I mean, it just turns the whole narrative of Civil War history on its ear.
Yeah.
You know, it becomes a Union occupied town, and all the sugar plantations and all the up and down the delta of the Mississippi, they're being burned, you know, scorched earth. They're burning them. So the Union Army goes and burns them. And so where do the slaves go? They all wound up in Natchez. And you have a black population going from about less than 500, 375, something like that, according to some records. All of a sudden, they got 10,000 black individuals showing up in town, and they become refugees.
Yeah.
And so the Union Army doesn't know what to do. So they decide to set up a camp. Some call it a concentration camp, but it's supposed to be a refugee camp. And they set it up down in what's called the Devil's Punch Bowl, which is basically right on the banks of the Mississippi River. And surrounding it is the hills, and it's a big gully. I've been there. It's just a big gully. And so they build this place there, and they will not let the occupants out. And so a lot wind up dying there. The food is terrible, and people can say all they want to, well, that really never happened, you know. But the reports are coming from the surgeons of the Union Army and those that came in the commission. You know, they had the health commission, the sanitation commission, excuse me. The sanitation commission was sending their people there, and it's their writings, the sanitation commission, and they're writing about the terrible conditions and how many people are dying a day. And that is never talked about. So that's what we like to do with History Highway. We like to bring out the lesser known stories, and we tell the rest of the story. So anyway, we have a lot of fun with it.
Lots of stuff you're involved in, Rick. How do before we get into kind of where they find more about you and some of the things you have, like the books and learning more about the educational videos and the programming, you've given me a couple of other photographs we want to mention here and talk a little bit about the Tree of Liberty in your latest project.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. I met a good buddy of mine. This Tree of Liberty, Gary Gentry. When I had a recording studio on Music Row, he became one of the writers at the little publishing company I was involved in. He wrote The Ride that David Allan Coe put out. It was a very famous song. I bet you will recognize it when all I have to say is The Ride and David Allan Coe, and it was a huge hit. Well, I got to become friends with Gary Gentry. We lost contact for about 20 plus years. We reconnected 2 years ago. Then last fall, actually Tuesday before Thanksgiving last year, we did a TV show together. And afterwards we said, we need to get together and write another song. And we began to talk back and forth on the phone. And I said, well, what do you want to write about? And he said, well, you know, the 250th is coming, celebration of America. And he said, you know, I think we need to write something for the 250th. And I said, well, Gary, that's a great idea. And I said, let me see. And I was just getting ready to release Singing River. And I said, well, I'll try to squeeze it in somewhere. They called me back, and I asked for some more detail. And he said, well, I have this portrait above my fireplace. And this portrait's of a tree. And this tree was 250 years old. And it grew in Athens, Tennessee. And every morning when I went to school, I passed that tree. I went off to the Navy when I got grown up. I went off to the Navy. I come home, they cut it down. They cut down that 250-year-old tree. If that tree could talk, what would have it said? And he said the house, the old plantation home next to it, would become a Union hospital during the war. If that tree could talk, what would it say? I said, well, Gary, you want this for the 250th, right? And he said, yeah. I said, all right. I said, I spent some time in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania a few years ago, and I asked to go see a place where George Washington prayed next to a tree. Could I talk about that? Well, that sounds like a good idea. Tell me more. And I said, well, Thomas Jefferson had a saying. He said, the tree of liberty is refreshed by the blood from time to time by patriots and tyrants. So I told him I wanted to make it about the Tree of Liberty, and that George Washington knelt by that Tree of Liberty. And if that story could talk, what story would it tell? Well, I actually do come from a third generation timber family. I worked in the logwood for about 7 years with my family, third generation. And I said, well, what if the character in the story was hired to cut down the timber right next to the Valley Forge Park? And as they were going through, they found this 500-year-old oak tree. And right before the boy takes his chainsaw to cut down that tree, he sees the face in the bark of that old tree, and the eyes pop open. And the tree begins to talk and tell a story. And in that story, he talks about Gettysburg. He talks about Valley Forge. He talks about the Oneida Indians that hunted their game there before the white man came. So we're teaching history in the Tree of Liberty. We're working on the music video right now. You've probably been seeing pictures pop up. That one, that we shot that Sunday. That's John Walsh. Everybody should know old John Walsh. He's been Fort Donaldson relics and been a collector for all these years, and always been good to me. Him and his wife Nikki. We've done tons of things together for 15 plus years. He's come to a lot of my reenactments, but last year he bought that little Jeep. And he said, what do you think of my Jeep? And I said, well, as soon as I find a place for it, I'm going to put it in one of my History Highway pieces. And then I got to working on the song. And the song gets heavy about honoring our veterans. And our Vietnam veterans are probably the least recognized. My dad was in the Korea War, so they weren't recognized at all. So in the second course, when we go back over the course a second time, we jump from talking about George Washington and the Continental Soldiers, militia, and those that really helped get our country. Yes, the founding fathers wrote the Declaration of Independence and got us that on paper, but if it wasn't for Washington, the militia, and the Continental Soldiers, buddy, it wouldn't have been finished. It wouldn't have been complete. They had to complete the mission. And so it's the veterans. It's those that fought and the veterans. So I make the second course. We talk about the veterans. And of course, when we talk about Gettysburg, I talk about the Revel. Yeah.
Man, it's going to be great. So you're in production of it now, Rick?
We're in production. I hope to have it out so everybody can see it around June 15th is our target date. Don't mean we'll hit it because the rain has just been murdered over the last week or two. So we're supposed to go tomorrow and film the big tree. We found a big tree over around Big Sandy. We have to cross the Big Sandy River to get to it. So we're going to be in a boat tomorrow and cross the river, and we're going to track down this big old tree and film next to it tomorrow if the rain holds on.
We're excited to see it when it's produced and ready and released. We'll be sure to share it and promo it. Now, Rick, let's talk a little bit about how they can learn more about you. And, of course, we'll share a few things here. Here's the website. You've got a couple of websites. And first, we'll start here at rickrevel.com.
Yeah, this is kind of the general website. It started out and it just basically was promoting our school programs and things we used to do. And over time, I've had the website probably 15 plus years, and it has grown. I keep new things get added to it, and so it's just keeps expanding, covering our music, our television shows, talks about our origin. So it's become more of a biographical type of website. So if you want to know the full story about what I've done, and if I guess tonight's kind of a teaser. Everybody sees me at the SCV events, and they know me for singing this song or that song, but we've had some fun stuff happen. I've been very fortunate. The Lord's blessed me on all the cool things I've gotten to do, and the website just kind of gets that opportunity to show some of those things that we've had the privilege to be a part of, and I call it a privilege. On the very left there, you see me as Wild Bill Hickok as I'm walking through the saloon doors there. We did a piece called Dead Man's Hand, and it actually won an award. You asked about awards earlier. I didn't elaborate a lot, but I got Best Actor for that. I picked up Best Western for it. And it's kind of like the old Ed McMahon thing when he did the Publishers Clearinghouse. He said, if you don't enter, you don't win. And so I've had, all these film festival things, and I have to pay fees to do it. So it's not a cheap thing to do. So you pay your entry fee, you enter your film, your music video, or whatever I've put out there. And so I've got 5 historical pieces. Every one of them picked up some awards. Every one of my music videos, all my songs that I've entered in songwriting or music things, International Singer-Songwriters Associations, I keep picking up little awards along the way. So it's kind of cool, I don't make a lot of money at this, so those awards kind of let you know that at least maybe I'm doing the right thing. And then I have the music page, which is just rickrevelmusic.com. So if you want to just see the music that we're working on, that's what it's based around. So, but I put out 15 albums, but the music industry's changed a lot, which is a whole different subject I don't care to get into. But what used to be your go-to was everybody wanted to buy in the beginning, I mean, I go as far back as I had 8-track tapes that you could buy and vinyl albums and 45 records. And then we went through the CD thing. And now today you can't even sell a CD because everybody wants to get it off of streaming.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's got to where you can't really make any money off of it because the streaming services, they'll make the money, trust me. But
it's true. You're very true.
They will, but you don't make much. So it went from making dollars to where you're making pennies on the dollar now. So,
so Rick, if they want to pick up a copy of your book, The Hills of Tennessee, can you still get copies of that? Is it still available?
Yes, I still have it available on the website, so you can pick up it on the Hills of Tennessee. And if you happen to want a CD, I still have CDs. So if you want that, instead of downloading, then I can ship those too. But the books are available there. And then if we happen to do a live program somewhere, I have the T-shirts and all that fun stuff too. So we try to do all the, some merchandising, but we have to do it kind of hand in mouth.
Yeah, everything is changing.
We're the little guy on the totem pole. I just have big ideas and big prospects. I try to make everything look good, but if I was doing it for the money, then I would have quit a long time ago. I was doing it for the money. It's not about. My philosophy is pretty dang simple. It's not what you take from this old world, it's what you leave behind. That's just a simple philosophy most everybody lives by or should. That's true. It's not what I want to take with me, and the awards don't mean that much. It's just something to add to your resume to give you some type of credibility, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's the passion. It's about leaving something behind for my kids, my grandkids, and anybody else that wants to know the truth about American history. I hope I'd be the go-to guy, try to teach you something about American history and do the best I can. So.
Well, Rick Revel's our guest tonight here on Tennessee Tuesday. Rick, it's been a great program tonight. Have thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a busy man in the middle of production of a music video to take time to be with us and learn about all you're doing, of course, personally, and then in the SCV as well. You're active, and we appreciate all you do.
Well, I appreciate you too, gentlemen. Trust me, I appreciate both of you very much.
Well, absolutely. Well, as we get ready to wrap up, Rick, of course, thank you again for being with us tonight. We're going to take one more break. We're going to come back, and me and Jason will have some updates on a lot of activities that have been going on in the Tennessee division. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Samuel R. Watkins, 1839 to 1901. Sam Watkins of Murray County, Tennessee, is remembered as one of the most well-known Confederate soldiers through his service and his words. Enlisting as a private in Company H, 1st Tennessee Infantry, Watkins served throughout the war between the states, fighting in many of its hardest battles, including Shiloh, Chickamauga, and Franklin. Like so many soldiers, he endured the hardships of war, witnessing both the courage and the cost of conflict firsthand. After the war, Watkins returned home and later wrote his memoir, Company H, one of the most widely read personal accounts of a Confederate soldier. His writings provide a vivid and human perspective on the everyday experiences of those who served. Today, Sam Watkins is remembered not only for his military service, but for preserving the story of the common Confederate soldier for future generations. To learn more historical facts about Confederate veterans, visit TennesseeSCV.org.
There is a place, nestled in the rolling farmland of southern Middle Tennessee. A home constructed in 1837, nearly lost to the ravages of war. Saved by a servant and a Confederate general. A place where families loved and lost. If walls could talk, what stories could be told? If a place, a home, can feel love, loss, pain, surely this is one of those places. Nearby is a more recent structure, and inside are the stories of heroes and heroines, stories of battles won and lost, stories of sacrifices made by the people of its native soil. A place that will tell the true and complete story of the Southland and the war fought for its freedom. From the causes that led to the conflict to the modern-day struggles to protect Southern history. Historic Elm Springs and the Confederate Museum at Elm Springs are the general headquarters for the Sons of Confederate Veterans. A place where the story of the Southland and its historic struggle is preserved and told. Come and discover your history.
And we're back on Tennessee Tuesday on this Tuesday evening, May the 26th. Good evening to you. I'm your host, John Blankenship, along with my co-host, Jason Boshers, this evening. And Jason, as we're just talking about the National Confederate Museum in Columbia, there's the hours on the screen now, Monday through Friday from 9 until 4, and then open on Saturdays 9 to 4 as well. So if you haven't had a chance to come see your National Confederate Museum, you need to make plans to come to Maury County in Columbia, spend the weekend or spend the entire week. Plenty to do there on the site, of course, to tour the historic home and the museum. Jason, you want to talk some more about it?
Well, just come and visit your place. This is our general headquarters. This is our National Confederate Museum. This is our antebellum home in historic Elm Springs. You know, Sons of Confederate Veterans bought property in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at the home, started construction in 35, finished in 37. When we were digging the graves for Nathan Bedford Forrest, we were actually digging his grave. We had the fire pit for the bricks, you know, and that's a part of the interpretive story that we're going to be telling that has to deal with the history of the home itself. And I mention that because, Rick, when you were there, you came and you visited, and it was myself and the Kennedy twins. And you interviewed us at the museum, and then you went over to Elm Springs and filmed some video. And I think you've done some stuff inside the house, have you not?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, back in the day when everything was in there, we talked about, of course, I went into the library in there, and that's where I found some more of my ancestors in the library and some of the books. And then, of course, we heard about the ghost stories, and I never did get the film there, but I was shared about some of the possible ghosts that frequent the house. So, but I never did get to do that. But yes, I love the inside. We actually filmed in the Shiloh, the Many Faces of War. That home is the home that was where my character lived, Dr. Finus Bell. And so we live in that, and it's, of course, it's a fictitious setting based around factual things that happened. But Elm Springs wound up being the home, and the Union Army burns it in the film, Shiloh, Many Faces of War. But yeah, I filmed on the inside. I've run up and down those steps to the second floor up there. So yeah, it's a pretty cool place. I love it.
Yes. And this belongs to the Sons of Confederate Veterans. So come and visit and learn our history. I wrote the script for that 2-minute video that we just saw there, you know, the one that starts, there is a place. And the only thing that they changed out of that was they added a sentence at the end. They didn't change anything else with it. And because the point was to tell the story.
Mhm.
And there is that house has its own story. Been around nearly 200 years. All of the families that have been there. Just think of the stories that it can tell just since the Sons of Confederate Veterans purchased it in 1992.
Yeah.
From
And what was
Simeon Cummings, sir.
And what's kind of cool is you go upstairs on the balcony over the front porch, the veranda area there, and you look out across the way and you see almost an identical home on the hill facing it. It's pretty dang cool.
Yes.
Beautiful. It's beautiful up there. It really is.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Again, come see the National Confederate Museum. It's a beautiful place. And while you're there, then travel this summer a little further up the road to the 131st Annual Sons of Confederate Veterans National Reunion. Jason, we're getting ready for National Reunion. Always an exciting time. It's when you use the term reunion, it's a reunion of brothers and also sisters that attend throughout the week, many activities, of course, and then doing the business of our organization. This year hosted in Lexington, Kentucky, 131scv.org if you want to get your registration done. And Jason, I know there's some info about tickets for meals. Has that cut off, or when does that cut off?
The cutoff is June 1st. If you want a meal if you're going to one, even the banquet, the ticket cutoff is June the 1st. So if you're going to attend the Heritage Luncheon or one of the breakfast, or if you're going to go to the banquet, you're going to need to get on the website and order your tickets. You have to June the 1st. That is the cutoff. And I also want to say, if you go to that 131scv.org, they have opened up a merchandise link on there.
All right, go check it out. Get registration done. Join us there. It's going to be a good week, and looking forward to being in Lexington. Appreciate all the guys in Kentucky and all the work they've done to have us a nice reunion. A couple of things we want to mention, guys. We want to show some activities, but this one, of course, we had Mark Buchanan on with us. He's the Heritage Defense Chairman in Tennessee, and this is the monument, the Confederate monument at Elmwood Cemetery in Memphis, that the camp there and the brigade is working on to do a restoration of the base of the monument here. And there's a recent photograph at the memorial service, and then you can see the base that's deteriorated over the years. They've started a project to raise funds to repair that base. And I know that project is going to be around about $5,000, I believe, and they're still raising funds. The Tennessee Division has contributed towards that. The local camps there have raised funds, but they're still a little bit short to get that work started. So if you're interested in making that happen, you can reach out to Mark Buchanan on social media or reach out to me or Jason, and we'll be sure to get you the info of how you can donate. We want to see this project done. If you've never been to Elmwood Cemetery in Memphis, I encourage you to go there. Of course, the Confederate site there with the monument. Of course, that's originally where General Forrest was buried, and some of his family members are also buried there in Elmwood. So just a beautiful cemetery, and there's an older photograph of a postcard of the monument. So we want to help do our part and restoration. I know somebody asked, I saw in the comments about the price on that. And again, they have to work with the group that Elmwood Cemetery's organization says they have to use. So their hands are a little tied there, but it'll be good work done. Again, trying to raise around $5,000 to make that happen. So if you could contribute to that and make that possible, reach out to us or Mark Buchanan, and we'll make sure this project happens. We want to see this completed. Also, some other photographs sent in to us. I see Tom Wood, who is the commander of the camp in Lebanon there, the General Hatton camp. He recently spoke to the Gainsborough Invincibles there. And you can see Rich, of course, Tom there, David Daniels, and Chuck Broadhouse photographed the night that Tom spoke. Tom is a fantastic speaker and one of our most active individuals in the SCV. And, of course, their camp has been recognized nationally for the work that they do in Tennessee and beyond. So we appreciate Tom and Chuck sending in that photograph for us this evening. These photographs here, these are coming from the James Keeling Camp 52. This is the Cold Springs Cemetery, I believe it is, one of the cemeteries here. And I've got a couple of photographs, and it may be two different locations, but we do want to share with these here tonight that have been sent in to us and the recent memorial service that they did here. And you'll see some of the individuals that were present there for memorial service. And here's some more, guys. So we appreciate them sending in. There's Billy Joe Holly there speaking, of course, at the memorial service. And then there's the good crowd. Commander Ed Hill there, brigade commander, is there in the vest. You see him just beyond the flagpole. And then there's some more of graves there, the Confederate graves. I believe it's East Hill Cemetery, I believe is the name of that one. Jason, help me on this. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir. I believe so. Yes.
And then there's some more photographs from that memorial service. Also, we've been busy. Jason, I got to come up your way this past Sunday for a memorial service there in Mount Pleasant. And I'll let you talk a little bit about that as I show some photographs.
Okay, and there is our Tennessee Division Commander, John Blankenship. He is speaking at the memorial for the Bigby Grays. That is the exact spot that the men from Murray County, specifically southern Murray County, which would be the Mount Pleasant area. This is where those men were mustered in and sworn into service. And that's our executive director, Adam Southern. He was giving us telling us the history of the Bigby Grays and the Bigby Gray Memorial. That was originally erected in 1907. And it was at 100 years, the Sam Watkins camp, we did a 100-year rededication of it. And I don't know if you know about the history of Mount Pleasant. That's Kayla Southern, Adam's wife, giving greetings on behalf of the United Daughters of the Confederacy. And the gentleman that is on the right of the picture, that is Will Pogue. That is Sam Watkins' camp commander. And that is the man just to the left of Will Pogue, the gentleman in the dark jacket, red tie. That is Dr. Robert Bain. Our camp celebrated 40 years. We were rechartered May of 1986, and his name is on the charter. He has been a member since 1986. And there's everybody from the camp gathered there.
Yeah, neat photograph too. He's holding that original camp charter there, and you see in the center, right in the center of the monument. And then also Adam is holding a photograph at the dedication, right?
Yes, sir. That was the photograph from the dedication in 1907, actually specifically September 27th, 1907.
And you have a pretty neat connection to that, I learned this weekend, Jason. I'm going to share this picture. I hope it's okay of you and your mom there.
Yes, that is my mama in the center. She's doing very well, 86 years old, gets around very well. She actually has better blood work than I do. So
she said something about you were the troubled child. You caused all the problems or something like that.
Well, yes, she actually owned me. She said she would own me during the service because I was asked to give the charter. And I said, that's the first time I've heard that, you know. And the other gentleman in the picture is Mitch Hendricks. And Mitch Hendricks and I are our first cousin. His daddy and my mother, brother and sister. And, you know, this is just to show how history goes. Her mother, my mama's mama, she was at the dedication in 1907.
And she's in the picture there. You couldn't see it. It was kind of cropped down, but she was in that photograph on a fence line or something like that.
Yes. They were building what would end up being the bank building. They were in the process of building it, and they had a railing around it. And she was sitting on the railing with her father. Her father was standing and she was sitting on the railing.
Wow.
But my grandmother was there. My mother's mother was there. And my mother was there at the 100-year rededication of it. And she was there Sunday. So
well, it was good to meet her. And again, I guess you took good care of her. She wasn't too bad about you. She said you're a pretty good son.
I'm not going to say anything without it, you know, but I can say I'm just thrilled that my mama was there. I'm blessed to have my mama there.
Absolutely.
I got to take her to church. Come on. How can it get any better than that?
That is good stuff.
I take her to church, and then I take her to a celebration for the 40th anniversary of the camp and a memorial service for the Bigby Grays.
Well, Jason, tell me this, because you said it was your great-grandmother that was there, I believe you said, on that fence line or sitting on that railing.
It would be my grandmother.
Your
grandmother. Her mother. It was
her mother. So so there's Confederate connection on that side that's not the Boshers side of the family.
Yes, there's several on the Hendricks and McLean So yes, there's a pile of us.
So a good reunion there. That was a great time on Sunday.
Yeah.
Appreciate being allowed to come up there and saying a few words.
And you did a fantastic job. My brother, my mother's grandchild was there, and he got to hear the talk. He's 14 years old, will soon be 15, and he was just excited to be part of it. And I noticed one thing, because I was standing where I could watch him. He never got his cell phone out and stuck his nose in it, which is actually saying something for a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, I hope he learned something. Hope it inspired him, and he's the generation coming up.
Yes. So there were 3 generations there on Sunday.
Wow.
A good time. Give a shout out to that restaurant we ate at, Jason, that little cafe. Man, that food is really good. I've eaten there 2 or 3 times. Really good.
That's the Mount Pleasant Grill. And of course, you show up and, I can remember it when it was Wright's Pharmacy. And I'm going to date myself. I went in there at one time, Wright's Pharmacy. It still has the original soda fountain as you go in. But at that time, they sold a little bit of everything. If you remember when the band, the Eagles, when the album, the Hotel California come out, I bought that album there. That tells you how many years ago that was. And then it turned into another restaurant called Lumpy's. And then it turned into the Mount Pleasant Grill.
Very nice facility, very neat place. It still has the look, has that original counter in there, and very good food. Enjoyed that time. So if you're in the Mount Pleasant area and you're visiting with Jason, or you're not visiting with Jason, you're coming through, make sure you stop in and eat. Very good food.
Yes.
Well, all right, Jason, a couple of other things I want to show. This Saturday, too, was busy down here, our folks in West Tennessee. Here's a photograph of some of the flags we put out at Oakland Cemetery in Trenton there. Our Camp 209 and 1472 partner up every year and place flags on about 150 Confederate veterans that are buried in Trenton. And here's another site of what's known as Texas Hill in Oakland Cemetery. There's 2 or 3 unknowns there. Some of those are identified. You see the more recent markers that have been placed for them and the original ones. And there's also a monument there you see closer to the flagpole that was put there in the late 1800s as well. So the flags put out there. And then, of course, we came, here's a photograph of me. You probably don't want to see me, but I want to show where I'm standing. That's Colonel Robert Milton Russell's cenotaph there. He's not actually buried in Oakland Cemetery. Neither is the others you see there that are mentioned that are his relatives. He's actually buried in California. So, but there is a marker there by other family members to recognize Colonel Robert Milton Russell. And, of course, he's the namesake of our camp here in Humboldt, Camp 209. So, got to put out flags there. And then there's Jim Collinsworth, our division chaplain. He's helping here in Humboldt at Rose Hill Cemetery. And us putting out our flags there. We put out a little bit over 100 flags at Rose Hill each year as well. And here's one more photograph here, another view of what's known as Texas Hill in Oakland Cemetery in Trenton. There's John Spence of Camp 1472, helped putting out flags there. And we replaced, of course, the 3x5 battle flag there on the pole that flies throughout the year. And one more that I want to highlight from Rose Hill Cemetery in Humboldt, here rests faithful Jim Hunt. Jim was born a slave and, of course, lived here in Gibson County, and he went off to war with the Dunlap family. And, of course, he was originally a slave on their farm and later would help be the sexton of Rose Hill Cemetery in Humboldt. And at the time when he died, a little bit after 1910, 1911, he was buried in what at the time was the white section of Rose Hill Cemetery, next to a family that he lived with and was friends with. And we always honor him every year by placing a flag there on his grave. So there is a Jim Hunt, always an honor to recognize his service. We know he was there. To what full role he served, we'll probably never know that. History that's been lost, but we do know he was with one of the Dunlap brothers and was there the whole war. So we want to remember him in his service to this time of year. So there's what we've got happening around the Tennessee division, guys. Lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff coming up. Don't forget, coming up in June, a couple of things we want to mention before we wrap up is this event here, and I know all of us have been at this event over the years, the Forest Homecoming. The 24th annual event will take place at the Boyhood Home in Chapel Hill. 9 to 4, there's activities throughout the day, and it's going to be a busy time. So I invite you, if you're looking for something fun to do on June the 20th, come be there with us. Again, just $10 to come in. Now, again, it's a fundraiser for the Boyhood Home, and any donations you want to make there extra as well goes for the upkeep and care that beautiful site and the work that we're doing, the Forest Hall. And Jason talked to Gene Andrews yesterday, and he gave me an update on our Forest Hall project that we're building. It's a pavilion there that will allow us to have a covered space. Construction should begin very soon. They've been working on the steel and getting some plates and the proper bolts for the concrete that had to be changed, and that should happen very soon. And also the front section of the building, which will eventually house an office, a museum, and bathroom. Some work is being done on that as well. So many great things happening there, and we're looking forward to seeing that project come to fruition and be completed, hopefully in the next several months. We'll have that nice facility there, and appreciate all those that have given. We are still, of course, taking donations to that. You can send those to the Tennessee division. Jason, give the address for folks that may be watching outside of Tennessee that doesn't know where they can mail those checks to if they'd like to donate to the Forest Hall project. Any amounts from $1 to $1 million we'll take.
Well, I'll take more than $1 million if they're willing to give it.
First come, first serve.
Yes, I'm going to put it in a banner and have it scroll across the bottom.
Yep. So if folks want to give, they can see that. Jason's going to put that in a banner here for us, or where you can send your donation to there at P.O. Box 10, Mount Pleasant, 38474. Send those donations to us, and we'll, of course, get those towards our project as we continue the work on Forest Hall. Lots of great things happening. We invite you to come out and be with us on June the 20th. It's sponsored by the national organization. The Tennessee Division boys just help out to make sure the event happens. Again, come enjoy some food. There'll be reenactors there. There's artillery demonstrations, infantry demonstrations. We've got different speakers. There'll be musicians. There's sutlers there. There's things you can bid on. Am I missing anything, Jason? Lots of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on, and I just always want to extend the invitation to Rick Revel, because I've heard people call you Revel. I've heard people call you Rick Revel. But you always have anytime you want to come play, you just let us know. You have a standing invitation. I've heard you play out there a number of years, and you're always welcome.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Just give us a note. Let us know when you want to come.
We will. We'll let you know.
Yes,
well,
sir.
If we get ready to wrap up tonight, two things left to do. Jason, I'm going to let you here in just a moment to go over the programs that are coming up on SCV Chat, but a couple of shout outs to a few more folks that have come in late in our program this evening. The Arkansas Division Commander is joining us this evening. Appreciate him being here tonight. Let's see. A couple of these we want to get called up. Al joining us there. And Rick, you're a true gentleman. So a nice compliment there.
Thank you. Bless you.
So Al, one of our regular viewers tonight, Jim checking in as well. We appreciate the kind words and him watching with us. Again, here's Dennis Stubblefield there and checking in, saying you're definitely a good son, Jason.
Well, so I'm just blessed,
building that ego up tonight. Also, Mr. Chuck Roydhouse, his ancestors are Wades, buried in Trenton. And actually, Chuck, there were some of those that I put flags on that are Confederate veterans on Saturday. So me and Chuck are just about related, just about.
Almost.
Just about.
Some of the families marry in together. We hadn't found the blood connection yet, but definitely all grew up in the same area here, all of our ancestors. So let's see. Daniel has a comment here, a nice album cover. We saw that when we shared there with that resonator guitar, Rick. So a compliment there from Daniel. And then, of course, Toby checking in finally tonight, another great program, and we thank him and all of you for watching this evening. Again, Jason, there's other programs besides ours that you hear on Tennessee Tuesday, each Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock. What are our other programs coming up?
Well, let's all get started on the Lord's Day. On Sunday night, we have Michael C. Hardy with Hardy on History. That comes on at 7:30 Central Time, p.m., 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Monday night, you have the flagship show, SCV Chat. That starts at 7 p.m. Central Time. Tuesday night, you're free to join us here. On Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. Wednesday night, Look Around Florida with the Florida man, Sean McFall. That's at 7 p.m. Central Time. Thursday night. Now, the first Thursday night of the month, they have Commander's Comments. And that's with Commander-in-Chief Walter D. Donnie Kennedy. And that's at 7 p.m. Central Time. The other Thursday nights, or the remaining Thursday nights, They have Look Around the Confederation, and that's just where you catch up on all of the news that is going on in the Confederation. And on Friday night, I've seen David Pope on here tonight. David Pope has Friends of Douglas Southall Freeman. That's at 7 p.m. Central Time as well. So all the times are at 7 p.m. Central Time, except for Michael C. Hardy, and that's at 7:30 Central Time. So please catch these other shows and learn everything that's going on. Keep up with our history. And, Michael C. Hardy does some wonderful talks. And, let's just watch these shows, sponsor if you can, through Patreon, and see y'all next Wednesday.
Absolutely. And you see there, it's going to be a bye week. So
yes,
no new show this week with David. So appreciate him chiming in there and letting us know that. Well, gentlemen, thank you again, Rick, tonight for being with us. Again, they can visit rickrevel.com if they want to learn more and to pick up any of your material and learn more about the content that you produce. Jason, again, thank you as always for co-hosting tonight and being with us. And we'll be back with you next Tuesday at 7 o'clock on Tennessee Tuesday. Have yourself a great rest of this week, everybody. Take care.
Gentlemen.
God bless you.
Thank you.